And welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2 of our spooky episode. I'm going to continue to use that word because it's not offensive. It just means creepy or haunted.
Yep.
I still can't believe that. Anyway. So welcome back. Segment 2. We're talking about media. Specifically, I figured we can just chat about and discuss... we already talked quite a bit about horror games, so horror movies, or strangely horror books, if those exist. I mean, I think they technically do, but
yeah, I mean,
feel like...
would you consider like Darren Shan to be a horror book?
What's Darren Shan?
I've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast. I think the demon books, and he does vampire books as well. And
Gotcha. I mean,
I think he's doing did a zombie series more recently as well.
I feel like there are definitely what are considered like classical horror books that have stopped being horrified because people have kind of become numb to the concepts of them. So
yeah, I mean, films and games portray horror so well these days that books really just don't cut it anymore.
But that's not what I'm talking about. So I'm specifically talking about two things right off the bat. One of them is it always gets quoted and people talk about Lovecraftian, but Lovecraft's books, some of the original ones that he did, and people get it wrong because they just jump to, hey, Cthulhu. But his books, his old ones, at least, some of the short stories and novels that he wrote were about kind of the horror of the human, not the human condition, but like the horror.
Yeah.
And it was existential horror. It was horrifying because it was introducing the concept that humans were so tiny and insignificant that there were these greater beings out there that the only reason they didn't snuff us out of existence is because we were beneath their notice. And I feel like now that's just kind of the attitude most people have, is that humans are tiny and insignificant.
Yeah, I mean, so Lovecraft's thing, you're absolutely right, is all about people's psychologies. It wasn't like, the Skyrim way of doing things where it's like, I'm a dark wizard, therefore I want to summon demons to take over the world.
Yeah.
No, it was, there's these three people who live in a fishing village that you've never kind of even thought about before, and those three people one day start eating eels alive, and suddenly they are mutating and sacrificing young children or something, like really fucked up shit.
Yeah, they become cultists kind of out of left field.
Yeah, one of the most famous Lovecraftian stories is The Shadow over Innsmouth.
I've heard of that one. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, and Innsmouthers, which are people who live in Innsmouth, are in quite a few of his stories, and it's so popular that this is something that I realised the other day when I was playing RuneScape. There's actually a homage to Shadow over Innsmouth. There's a quest called Shadow over something. I can't remember what the town they called it was. Yeah, there's these Cthulhu-esque monsters in it, and basically Innsmouth was a town of people, I think, that they all became, I won't say how, but they all basically became fish people. And there's quite a few Cthulhu games out there these days, and there's quite recently there was a big like adventure detective game.
I'm in the middle of playing it, actually. It was
really?
It was free on the Xbone. It was one of their games with gold things. So I am
Very
in the
good
middle
game.
of playing it. And yeah, I like it.
It's particularly if you like rich story. Like if you just want to shoot stuff, it's definitely not the right game for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very grungy, very dark, and quite disgusting at some points.
I mean, there's it's the you have to be in the right mood for that kind of game. You're right.
Mm.
It's the same way with like movies. You have to be in the right mood for certain kinds of movies. Sometimes you just want to see stuff blow up, and sometimes you're in there for like a long, drawn-out, methodically crafted story or atmosphere.
Mm. But yeah, so you've seen The Fish People then?
I have not gotten to that point.
Okay. Do you know what? Could you name the game quickly? I just want to double check that it is.
We may be talking about different games.
Yeah.
I think it may just be called. You know what?
Call of Cthulhu?
I don't think it's Call of Cthulhu. Talk while I look this up.
Okay, because the one that there was actually two that came out quite recently. One of them, they're both really good.
It is Call of
By the
Cthulhu.
same studio.
Yeah, it is Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, was is this? Which one is this? Because there's two. I think this is the slightly older one.
Yeah, I'm looking through it. This looks like the game I was playing. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Maybe this isn't the game I was playing. All right, we're all just talking nonsense. But the point being, there are a lot of good there's a lot of good and bad things that have been based off of those original concepts from Lovecraft.
Oh yeah.
But the other book I was going to mention, which is kind of a literary classic that I think was more horrifying at the time, was Frankenstein.
Yep, I've read that.
We had to read it in school. I
really shit. Sorry.
What? I actually liked that book.
I don't know. Go on. I'll give my.
I have maybe it's an acquired taste. But I have a taste for some of the older books that are kind of dry and difficult to get through. But I don't know. So that's one of them. I thought it's another example that isn't as horrifying now, but maybe just because we've kind of become numb to some of the concepts in it.
Yeah, it's definitely not scary.
It's horrifying. Days. I think that the concept, it was supposed to be horrifying because he's
there's an unstoppable, unimaginable beast that constantly follows you. Yeah,
yeah, and
I get that.
But there was also the element of, it's horrifying because it's dead and it doesn't quite belong in this world, which. Now I feel like stuff like that is a dime a dozen in most literature and movies and stuff.
And everyone they made Frankenstein in the media to look horrifying so that people could hate it more easily. But in the books originally, Frankenstein's monster was actually really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, he was attractive. There was a whole not attractive, but he looked like a normal human.
Yeah. And yeah, the struggle I had with it is that just everybody died. All of the characters died, one after the other.
Hey, I have been reading Game of Thrones, or as the book series is accurately called, A Song of Ice and Fire. I've been reading it since 2002. At the time, there were only 2 books, I think, and. So don't tell me about all the characters dying. That book is, famous. Those books are famous because all the characters fucking die.
Yeah.
Although I haven't, I still haven't finished it because he hasn't finished the book series.
Yep.
Anyway, little mini rant, but go on.
Other classical ones. Dracula, which came from Nosferatu. Which I was watching, as you know, I was watching. Okay, this is a very modern take on a take kind of thing.
Yeah.
What was it called? Alucard.
Oh yeah. Shit. Symphony of the Night.
No.
No. Devil May Cry.
No. Anyway. Animation.
Hellsing.
Hellsing, that's the one. But that made me want to read up more on Dracula. I think.
Yeah.
Because they do. I think they might put little bits of the original story in there. Like, I assume the whole thing about the Mongols uh, invading. Wait, yeah, invading Dracula's land.
Yep.
Like, I can understand that. That's like a really good setup for a story.
Yeah, the Mongol Empire
So maybe
invaded Eastern Europe quite a bit. Like they got
Hmm.
as far as like Poland and in the northern bits, and as far as like through Romania and up through the Caucasus and the southern bits of Europe. Uh, so that's legit. Like where Count Dracula, quote unquote, would have been. Although the guy that Dracula is based off of Vlad Dracul, was actually he was like a nobleman that ruled over those regions, but I believe the people he fought were actually the Ottomans.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
And he was like his thing was impaling people.
Yeah,
Like he
big wooden spikes.
Yeah, essentially he did it in. It's a fascinating story. If you ever want to look the guy up, who Dracula is actually based on, the nobleman from the Transylvania region.
It's weird that Dracula's based off him, but Dracula can only be killed with a wooden stake through the heart, kind of thing.
I wonder if that's where they got it from, just because
I would assume so.
because he impaled so many people. Maybe that's where they took the idea from. Alright. I'm always obsessed with history, so it was it's a pretty fascinating story. If you're into that sort of thing, looking back at the actual person. So we talked about books for a surprising amount of this. I honestly was just gonna mention books, like talk about Lovecraft and Frankenstein, and then move on to movies. But astonishingly, there's books. I feel like in the media segments in general, books are a topic that sneak up on me quite a bit.
Yeah, I kind of forget them until they're brought up, and now I'm like, oh shit, yeah.
It's like there's actually quite a bit to talk about here.
It's something that I save at the back of my mind, not the forefront.
Yeah.
I guess because I'm staring at it for so long, I have to pay attention.
They kind of they embed in the back there.
What's trick or treating like over there, by the way?
Well, normally it's just this absolute chaos of kids and young adults and adults and teenagers all running around dressed up, looking for candy.
Yes. See, we used to get that where we lived like many, many years ago, but since then, like the last 12 years or so, barely get any people trick or treating anymore. I mean, and especially there's not going to be any this year, I don't think. But
yeah, in around where I live, I live in a city. They've already canceled it around here, so there's no normally big towns or cities will designate dates and times for trick or treating, so that there's kind of a communal awareness. Like they've got traffic cops out to make sure the kids don't get run over. It essentially
that's another thing.
Yeah,
I think the moment you hit 12 or 13, you should not be trick or treating unless you're accompanying a child.
You still see people. I kind of agree, but I don't know. I had friends that would do it all the way up until they were 15 or 16. And I'd go out with them, but I don't like sweet things. So the candy was never a thing. I like dressing up in a costume. I thought it was fun to try to think of a.
That's fine. That's good. But turning up at old folks' houses when you're three big burly guys wearing really actually scary outfits, because that's what, they are pretty fucking scary these days. The more progressed
oh my God.
People are getting in costume design.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a little video clip I saw, and the subject was how I'm handling trick or treat or social distancing trick or treating or something like that, and it was just this little clip, and this guy and a kid in a costume, an older guy, it's clearly his kid, show up at the end of the driveway. Right, it was all rehearsed because this was weeks ago that I saw this clip. And there's a string going from the guy's light pole, like at the end of his driveway, to his front door, and there's this little cart, like this little wooden box that slides along the string out there, and in
Yeah.
it is a small little bowl of candy and a beer. The guy takes the beer, the kid gets the candy, and then there's like this little return thing, and it zips right back up the line. And I was just like, that's. I mean, I don't know if it was made specifically for this unprecedented era that we find ourselves in, or if it was just something that people, like
Antisocial will
something
do.
clever someone did before to be antisocial.
Yeah. Mm. And yeah, there's always some people that want, they don't just want one sweet, they want like a handful of sweets.
Yeah.
And then also, there are the complete tool bags that think trick or treat is an excuse if you don't get a treat to egg someone's windows or stamp on their garden and shit like that. And
There's
that is
always
not
yeah.
okay.
There's always gonna be those shitty teenagers that do that.
Like, oh my god.
TP and egg
Grow
and
up.
whatnot. Yeah.
Because, yeah, we've had our house egged a couple of times, but we've always had like a box of celebrations by the door, right? So people show up, they get a couple of sweets each, and then they head off. And yeah, I think a few times people weren't happy with the treats, so they just egged the windows, and that shit is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
To clean.
And it also, if they get any on the paint on the siding of the house, it can cause that to peel off. Yeah, you get that. People doing that as a matter of course. Like, there's always going to be that edgy teenager who's like, oh, we're going to go out and TP a house on Halloween or something like that. And it's just...
Yeah.
It's just
I
being
mean, I'm surprised
a
people
douchebag.
do it in America. I feel like it'd be a lot more risky throwing an egg at someone's house if you could think that they might be firing buckshot back.
I guarantee you that's probably happened somewhere in the U.S. But you're right. Yeah, it's a little bit more of a high risk sport here.
Yeah. God no.
But you'd probably be hard pressed to find someone who would actually fire at a teenager who was doing that.
Oh.
It'd be someone who would.
Just you point them out to me.
Oh my god.
So I've kind of grown up with not the best outlook on Halloween, probably.
Yeah. I see. It's always just been a big party over here. Normally.
Yeah.
Ever since I was.
I
a
think
kid.
when you're an adult and you can just go out to a Halloween party, I think that's great. I like that. I enjoy that. You can get to dress up. You see your friends. I went to work once I got to go wear my Halloween costume to work because it was Halloween that day, which was great. Lots of people stopped and took photos with me, which is super cool. All the kids loved the costume. All the parents were fucking horrified of me.
I think that the Halloween costume I'm probably the most proud of that I've ever done was in college. I did a Sweeney Todd costume because that was right.
Oh yeah.
The movie came out the movie version of it came out in like 2009-ish, I want to say, and I saw it.
Oh yeah, that's
college.
what we're watching, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the movie that I wanted to do for our movie night this week. Because I love that movie. It was one of the first like musicals that was like a non-Disney musical that I really liked.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did the costume. I had long hair at the time, so it was perfect. I sprayed it back, did dyed it black with the white
dyes,
stripe
yeah.
in it. I actually got like replica like razor blades, the straight edge ones. The costume was entirely like made. So I got like I got some dress pants that we modified to look like that. I made like a leather case for the razor blades out of like an old cell phone case. Like I'm talking about an old cell phone case where the phone was big enough to merit a giant leather case. And just belt, modified vest, and everything, and it was a really good costume. I was very proud of it.
I mean, yeah. If the more effort you put into it, the more good you feel about it at the end, isn't it? So, that's cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, mine's probably the payday one. Honestly, it's not much effort on my part, but it definitely comes. It comes together well because all you need basically is a suit, which I just love wearing suits anyway.
Hmm.
So any excuse, and these like bank robber mask kind of thing.
Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of the payday one,
Yeah.
one year for Halloween, I did like a. There was another movie that came out, um, Public Enemies, and it was about like the end of the era of the like highwaymen and the bank robbers in the U.S. And so I did like a bank robber, like a mafia kind of costume. So long black trench coat, bowler hat, not bowler hat, but like a fedora or a trilby kind of hat.
Yeah.
And I had like a Nerf shotgun that I'd painted black. The problem is, I painted over the orange tip of the gun.
Yeah, that's illegal.
It is, and it made it look very much like a real, like, tactical short barrel shotgun. And it was pointed out to me very quickly, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I had a pocket knife on me, so I scraped it off so you could see the orange again. But we had on-campus police, and if I had been walking around with that thing, I imagine they would have had words for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I always feel, even with those things on, I feel very nervous walking around with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you always got to be careful with it.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you always got to be careful with that sort of thing.
We were sat having food yesterday. Actually, yeah, it was while we were drinking last night, right?
Yeah.
And someone came in wearing like the jigsaw outfit.
Oh god.
Oh god, I couldn't. I have not seen Saw. I'm never going to watch Saw.
Yeah.
It's really something that turns my stomach.
A bunch of my friends in high school loved those movies. I could not watch them.
Yeah, but Alicia was like, I want to kind of go over and ask for a photo. I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should either.
Yeah, it's the real one. You wake up in a room with a bomb in your chest.
And yeah. But apparently, if you go there to that place again today, which I can't because I'm not over there anymore, you get a free drink if you come in costume today.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
It was really cool. I really love that place anyway, but
that is really cool. All right. Well, we are actually we're still pretty good on time for this segment. So let me go down. We haven't actually talked about horror movies, really. I mean, we touched on Sweeney Todd. I don't know if that's really a horror movie. So I guess it sort of is.
yeah.
But
I would say so.
Trying to think of like horror movie classics. I don't remember if I talked. No, I didn't talk about this last week because we did double movie night last week. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1970s version. I saw that the other night. I went over to a friend's house. We did pumpkin carving, and and then they set up like a projector in the backyard, and a bunch of my friends and I were outside watching. With that movie.
Your excellent carving, by the way, on Twitter now. If anyone wants to go and see it.
Oh my god, that pumpkin had such a derpy face.
It was moderately derpy, yes.
Oh my
Although I don't know if it's in the background behind you, people might see it for the third part of the segment anyway.
No, I had to throw it out. It was starting to get moldy.
Dang. All right.
I may, it's on the Twitter account. If people want to see it, it's there, at TMCJ Podcast. So, yeah, the movie, I actually thought it was a well-done horror movie. it fall. But again, this goes back to the fact that horror movies really don't get to me. I watched through the whole thing, and my reaction wasn't like, "Oh, I'm scared," or "I unnerved," or "I was going to have nightmares." It was, "Oh, that was pretty good." Like
Yeah.
the concept behind the movie. Spoilers if you haven't seen it, and I would recommend seeing it because it's if you haven't and you like horror movies, it's made in the 1970s, but it still holds up pretty well. The concept takes place in California somewhere, and some kind of alien plant ends up on Earth, and it slowly is like growing replicas of people who are like they're the same and they have the same memories, but they're not quite right. And but no one believes the few people that are figuring it out, and it's just like this tiny group of people trying desperately to survive and stop it from spreading and get the word out, and things get worse and worse. And,
Like World's End.
yeah, it's a wait what?
World's End,
Haven't
the
seen
comedy with Sean Pegg.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, the Cornetto trilogy.
Haven't I don't know what that is.
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End.
I have not seen any of those. I haven't seen Shaun of the Dead.
What?
I have seen the parody of Shaun of the Dead called Juan of the Dead,
Wow.
which
Oh,
honestly
shit.
is a hilarious horror movie. If you was looking for a funny horror movie to watch, Juan of the Dead is definitely, that's Juan. It takes place in Cuba, and it is absolutely hilarious.
Oh my god. Well, watch Shaun of the Dead first. I highly recommend, because it is like one of the very few horror films, A, that I've seen, and B, that is actually hilarious as well.
It's one of those it's something that is kind of a classic. I've never seen it.
It's also very British, so I suppose there is that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that it's not really available here. A couple of my best friends in high school, they watched it and they loved it, and they tried to get me to watch it, and I just never did.
Oh my god. I have to make you watch that this
Okay.
week.
It's somewhere on the list.
Also, yeah, so you haven't seen Hot Fuzz either?
No, I didn't even know they were
Oh,
related.
my fuck.
Honestly, I've
Yeah, it's the same actors.
I've heard of it. I just haven't seen it.
Even the Irish guy from Black Books is in it.
Okay.
Oh, me on
I
my.
haven't
In Shaun
seen
of the
it.
Dead, that is. Dylan Moran, that's the one. Yeah, sorry.
Black Books was a good series too.
Mm.
Oh my god.
But anyway, sorry, you were saying. before
Yeah, I
interrupted.
don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, I was talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Just a good movie. The atmospherically very well done. Some of the special effects are a bit dated, but their special effects aren't what the movie's about. It's more like a psychological thing, like getting into the mindset of these people who like they can't trust anyone and they can barely trust each other. They never quite know like who is and isn't one of these body snatchers.
It sounds like a less. It sounds like a more scary version of Day of the Triffids.
I also don't know what that is.
Oh my fuck! Day of the Triffids is old, man. That's so old.
Sorry, I don't.
Fucking hell. Okay, basically, some chemical factory, right? This plant gets out of control and kills the guy, and then a bunch of these plants like start breeding, spreading across the world, and if you like touch them, then you instantly die. And these plants are like all over the streets. They're like chasing people. There's a fucking film about it as well. But it originally came from a book. They're like giant Venus flytraps.
Okay.
That kind of chase people.
Well, this one, they're plants too in this thing, but they look like people.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
like, once they're fully
that's
formed.
what made me think of it, but yeah.
Yeah. There's actually a good number of recognizable actors in Invasion of the Body Snatchers too. The guy that played Spock in the original Spock.
Yeah, I can't remember.
That dude, Daniel Glover, is his name? Maybe.
Danny Glover?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He was the guy that played the president in Hunger Games.
Oh, that's definitely not
Donald.
Danny Glover.
Is it Donald Glover? Maybe. I don't know.
uh,
I'm bad with actors' names, but there's those two. Jeff Goldblum's in it. He's very young in that.
oh yeah,
Uh,
Jeff Goldblum, jeepers.
yeah, it was a good movie.
Man. Oh, have you seen Jurassic Park 1? No, you haven't, have you? We've spoken about this before.
Well,
Fuck me!
the original Jurassic Park I've seen,
Oh, you have? Okay, that's
but
alright.
not
You don't need
the.
to watch the rest.
I think when we talked about it, I thought you were talking about the new movies. I haven't seen the new Jurassic
No,
Park.
they're all garbage. Don't
Are they?
watch them.
Okay. I
Unless
thought
you want
about-
to see, like, an advert that stretches for 2 hours long. Because that's what it is.
I'm running around, I'm just picturing somebody sprinting away from a T-Rex just going, "Drink Coke!"
Yeah, literally everything, every single screen, like, shot has some kind of branding in it, it feels like. It is everywhere.
Oh, it's like, "Oh no, I'm going to be eaten. If only I had some Air Jordans.
Ooh. Red Bull, it gives me wings.
I'm gonna fly off."
Flies away.
I would actually see that movie. If a movie if not even trying to be like subtle about the product placement, just the most blatant, over the top, like parody
Yeah.
of like a product placement commercial. Like, I would love seeing a movie like that.
I don't know, I think it'd get old pretty fast.
It would get old pretty fast, but that's why I'm saying it would work. But it hasn't been done to the best of my knowledge. So
No.
somebody needs to do it once.
It'd be a
and-
good short film, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And it probably wouldn't stretch for a whole, like, 2 hours or something like that. But I don't know. It'd be, I think it'd be entertaining. But you're right. It probably would have to be short. Oh, okay. We're actually, we're at time for this segment. Do you have any final thoughts, last minute things you want to discuss before we move on to segment 3?
Not immediately comes to mind, nope.
All right. Well, in that case, this is the end of segment 2. Thank you all for listening, and we will be back soon with segment 3 of our spooky special.